Hello, Jeri.
Hi.
How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm very good, thank you.
Good.
For the sake of everybody watching, introduce yourself. Who are you and what do you do?
I am Jeri Williams. I'm a chartered accountant and I own Smooth Accounting, an accounting firm in the UK, and Smooth Dubai, a relocation and accounting firm in the UAE.
Very nice. As with all things on Tasty Humans, I always like to sort of go into the past. And so I wanted to ask you about your childhood and schooling. So where did you go to school and what did you like or dislike about school?
Wow, that's quite a long time ago. So I went to school in Hampshire in the UK. Originally born in London. All of my family are from London, but my mum we moved out when I was young, very small, to the south coast, right on the south coast between kind of Portsmouth and Southampton. I went to a local primary school and I didn't hate school. I didn't love school. I think I was like a in-between kind of. I was good at school. I was always quite academic. I didn't find it too difficult in that respect. I was also quite sporty, so I was always doing like netball and various other things. Then I went to senior school, again, local senior school, state school, and yeah, it was fine.
What part of London were you born in?
I was technically, I'm a true Cockney because I was born in the Sound of Bow Bells.
Okay.
So I was born in St Bart's Hospital.
Okay.
And all my family are from Bethnal Green.
Okay. And what made them leave? Just London?
I think at the time it was like kind of property and buying houses to kind of redo them a bit and that kind of thing. I have no idea really why it was specifically kind of where we ended up. It's a very nice part of the country, I will say that, where we live. We're kind of, there's lots of countryside around. The beach is there as well, so it kind of ticks those boxes. But yeah, I don't know specifically like really why we moved away, because all of our family stayed in London. They all moved out eventually to like Essex and Norwich. But yeah, my nan and granddad were like proper Cockneys.
Proper Cockneys.
So was my mum.
Yeah, like my parents were.
Yeah.
I was lucky enough to lose the accent, so
Yeah.
my original accent is supposed to be the only way of Essex. All right, mate, how are you? And
Yeah.
fortunately, through my travels, it all got shaved off.
Yeah, and we've got quite. I don't think I've got an accent at all, but obviously I have, because I think of people having accents as London, Essex, the West Country, like all of that. Those people have accents. I think, well, we don't, but obviously we do.
Well, I would never have pegged you for Cockney. I mean, we have been talking about, half an hour before we started recording. That's why I asked. I was like, oh, you didn't say that.
I know.
But
yeah. Saving the best bits for the podcast.
With the non-Cockney Cockneys.
Yes.
Yeah. So you said that you were quite academic at school. And so what were like the subjects that you were into?
Maths, always into maths. I didn't really enjoy English. Maths and science were my things. And I just think it's because I found it easier, and I really never gelled with English and kind of doing loads of essay style things. I found maths easier, and I think that's why I liked it. Mm-hmm. And then when I went to senior school, we could do like double science back then. And
double science?
I know. And now schools are doing like triple science.
What is double science?
You do an extra. So I did 2 science GCSEs rather than just 1.
Yeah, me too.
And now they do triple. It's like a common thing apparently with GCSEs. You do triple science.
How far? I'm gonna ask. You don't have to actually say a number, but
I know what you're gonna say.
Are we late 80s, early 90s, like
for school or for when I was born?
Take your pick. Go on.
So I am 41. So
Okay.
I know I don't look old enough.
No, you don't. I would not. No, I'm not. Listen, I'm not just saying that. Okay, I'm not. I would not say 41.
I need the Botox redone. I noticed earlier. I was like, oh God, I've got loads of wrinkles. Can't normally move my forehead. So yeah, I was born in 83. So left school in 99, I think.
Yeah, sounds about right.
Yeah.
Okay, because when I was at school, we did do physics, chemistry, biology, and then I had to drop one of them when I went into the last 2 years. That would have been early 90s. So was that the same sort of thing?
Yeah,
Triple
I don't know.
science sounds
We're doing triple
awful.
now. Yeah, it does. It sounds like a lot, but I don't know. I think it was back when I was at school. If you were kind of good at science, you were allowed to do double science, and if you weren't very good at it, you weren't allowed. So I kind of saw it as like, oh, I must be good at science then, because I'm allowed to do double science, and I enjoy it. It's better than English, because we had to do English language and English literature, so 2 individual English GCSEs, which was just horrendous because I hated English.
Yeah, yeah.
I just don't. It's just not even a subject. It's a non-subject. Like I just don't understand how you can do so much, like reading poems and interpreting them. But obviously, some people are better at English than.
You know, now you actually say that, I get that. I've never looked at it that way. You always think that you need to sort of excel in. I always looked at English as if it was like, well, we're in England and you're learning about the language and everything, but you're right. You only really need to learn how to speak it.
Yeah.
We don't need the in-depth.
No. Essay writing.
Non-subject.
No,
Fantastic.
you don't. And I think, going on to further education, higher education, everything, you always have to just do essays. Everything's just an essay question. It's like, oh, yeah.
So 1999. So when you're coming out of school, what were you like sort of in that era of music and pop culture, and what were you doing socially?
So I was very much a 2000s R&B person, and still am now. Like I still listen to the exact same music I listened to when I was like 18, 19. That's all the same stuff. And even like me and my closest friends, if we go anywhere, we're always like, can they just put on the 2000 R&B because it's just the best, and hip hop. Like that was what we lived for, and always went to places that played that kind of music. So yeah, if I'm listening, if I've got my headphones in, that's all it is. Like I'm just not interested in anything else, just that.
So what do you think? What do you think of the state of hip hop and R&B now?
I couldn't tell you. I don't listen to it now. Like I listen to the older stuff. Like I listen to all the same stuff on repeat. Obviously I hear about other stuff. I've got a 12-year-old son now who's like teaching me about like kind of, it's so funny to think that how he is with me is how I was with like my mum, about like, oh, like, you know, I can't believe you listened to that. And I was like, one day they're going to say things like, you know, I was like, your kids will be saying to you, Ed Sheeran, oh my God, like, can't believe you listened to that. And I'm like, whereas he's like the biggest artist in the world. So I think now, like, it all sounds very samey. When I used to go out and listen to, like, you could hear, say, a rapper, for example, and you know, just by the sound of their voice, even if you hadn't heard the song or anything, which one it was, which rapper. Yeah. And now I think there's just thousands of them and they all sound the same. So but that's probably just my old
mumbling.
Age. They're all mumbling. Yeah, what are you even saying?
What are other differences that you see now that you've got a 12-year-old, like that really pop up on your radar where you're like, wow, that's so different now?
Like, I think tech and, you know, like, when we were younger, we didn't have phones and iPads and all that kind of stuff. So that's just naturally what kids do nowadays. Most of the time is they're on electronics of some description. And I'm like, oh, it's such a shame. Because like when I was that age, I was out on my bike with my friends riding about and, you know, just knocking for friends and going out and playing. And, you know, kids just don't really do that much anymore, which I think is a bit of a shame. But I also don't think it's that terrible, because I think that that is the way of the world. You know, they have to know how to do all these things because naturally they're going to use it for the rest of their life, and they're going to use it in whatever job they go into, and they need to learn how to use it and stuff. So I don't think it's like, I'm not one of these parents that's like, oh, you know, my child would never have an iPad and, you know, all this kind of stuff. I'm like, mine have got them and they use them, and I don't see a problem with it.
No, fair enough. So what got you into accounting?
I remember being
as a 90s R&B girl. Do you know what I mean? I'm going to love this jump. Do you know what I mean? How did we get here?
How did we get here? I remember being towards the end of school and thinking, I want to earn a lot of money and I'm good at maths. So like, what can I do? What are the options for me being good at maths? What can I take, kind of job I can take? And it was like, could be a maths teacher. And I was like, no, like, I don't have the patience for that. There's no way. And I was like, oh, accountant. And I was like, do they earn good money? And people were like, yeah, it's a good career. I was like, cool, done. And literally that was it. I never deviated from that. I went to college, did A-levels with a view to going to uni, all of it just to become an accountant, the whole process. And I remember being at uni and one of my marketing lecturers, I'd said something about, I'm going to be an accountant. That's what I'm going to do. She was like, oh, Jeri, please don't do that. She was like, you've got such a great personality. Like, please don't be an accountant. And just really tried to stop me doing it. And I was like, I'll just be a really like cool, fun accountant. But yeah, I just didn't, just tunnel vision. I'm like that with everything. Like once I've decided, that's it.
And just educate me. What was the studying process like? Because as you just mentioned, there is that all accountants are boring. And I just think there's a bunch of very intelligent, nerdy people sitting in a room just...
Yeah. Yeah, and there is, to be fair. I had to study, generally it's about 7 years to become a chartered accountant. So 4 years of my study was my degree. You can become an accountant without doing a degree, but you have to do a different qualification first, which can take, well, it depends how long, it can take 3 years. So I did a 4-year degree and then I did 3 years of study and working to become a chartered accountant and doing my chartered exams and everything. So yeah, about 7 in total.
And was it tough for you because you have an outgoing personality? Like, was there an element of, why is everyone so quiet? You know what I mean?
I don't think the quietness, because I am quite a kind of head down, get on with my job, always wanting to excel and always wanting to kind of get everything done and be the quickest and the best and, that kind of thing when it comes to work. But I do think I struggled a lot with that's just how it's always been done. Like we do it this way because that's how it's always been done. And I was like, but this is quicker and better. And, like, why are we all handwriting in a manual that's kept downstairs in the office every time we're doing a new job or whatever? Like, why have we not just got this online that we can all just click into it? And why have I got to walk all the way downstairs to write in a book to walk all the way back upstairs? Like, and it was just things like that. I used to be like, I can't fathom why we're doing it like this. So I struggled a bit, I think, with the mentality of accountants can be very structured and, this is how we do things and this is how everyone does it. And, billing for time and all that kind of stuff. It was all very, I wanted to do things my own way. And I think that's what I struggled with and ultimately why I set up my own business.
So when did that take place? So
I set up Smooth in April 2016, so 9 years ago. Yeah, so I'd been at a local accounting firm for about 9 years, I think. I'd kind of joined as a trainee, worked my way up, qualified, started winning clients, going out networking, building my own client portfolio. I became a director there.
What sort of clients did you have?
So everything from sole traders, kind of one-man bands to corporate clients with, owner-managed businesses, multi-million-pound firms, like everything in between. So the minute I qualified as an accountant, I was kind of like, what's next? What do I do now? Kind of thing, to my boss, who was amazing. I absolutely loved my boss to pieces. Like, I'm still friends with him now. We go out for lunch and stuff. He's such a great guy and he kind of taught me everything, but he was like, well, anyone can do accounts. So like, what's going to separate or differentiate you is your ability to win business. So if you want to go far and you want to get further and you want to keep talking to me about your pay and your position and all this kind of stuff, you need to win business. And I was like, okay, I don't even know what that means. So I remember went to like a first networking meeting and it's so cringy. I was so awful, like socially awkward. I am quite a socially awkward person anyway in general, but back then it was just even worse. And but I started going and I just did social media on my own on behalf of the firm, but just no one was doing social media. So I started Facebook, going to as many networking meetings as I can, just doing anything I could to win business. And then it kind of snowballed.
So if anyone can do accounts, right, then how do you go about winning business?
I think it's just people buy from people. And I just found that actually, you know, I was winning clients. They did, technically it was for the firm, but no one knew like who the firm were. They just like, Jeri's our accountant, you know, speak to Jeri will look after you. And it's, if people trust you and they like you, they will work with you. No one had any idea how good I was at accounting when they signed up to be a client. They just met me, liked me, and wanted me to do their accounts. So it's exactly the same now. It's no different now to winning business. It's getting people to like you and trust you, and then they'll sign up with you.
And how important is the trust element?
I think it's massive because you're dealing with people's businesses. A lot of them, it's their livelihood. You know, it's everything, just like it is for me. So I think people relate. And I found that with the whole Dubai thing, and I'm sure we'll come on to that later, but when you've done it yourself, people not only think, well, you're an accountant, so you know how to do accounts, that's great, but equally you're coming at it from, you have your own business. And like when I set up on my own, I was like, I have my own business, I know what it's like, kind of thing. I think this trust is a big thing. Yeah, for sure. And I know we spoke briefly, like before we came on the podcast, as you were saying about, people do business with people. With people, you know, not with companies. They do it with people. And I think that's so true. And I've found that to be massively true.
I wanted to ask, it's probably a bit of a schoolboy question, but it's like, with the terms of like dodgy accountants and stuff like this, obviously I'm not expecting anyone to name names. Do you ever have clients who were kind of expecting miracles? You know, like, were they like, well, you're an accountant, make it disappear or reappear or anything like, is that cliched or does it exist?
Oh no, it massively exists. Like every day, that still happens now.
Oh, okay.
and it happens on such a huge scale now because of the amount of people that are like moving to Dubai, for example, from the UK. So it's, you know, the whole, my mate's been doing it for years, or I know someone's friend's cousin's uncle's goldfish that hasn't paid tax for however long, or, you know, oh, I've got this massive tax bill and, you know, I've been told I can just do this, and then I won't have to pay any tax. And like that, those conversations, yeah, every day.
What is your viewpoint on tax?
It's a difficult one.
Sorry.
That's a difficult. No. It's fine. It's fine. I don't mind tax. I think it's way too high in the UK. It's driving anybody that's been significantly contributing to tax out of the country. But tax in general, I don't have a problem with. What I have a problem with is being taxed as a business owner to such a high degree when I use for me personally, when I use very little of the state provided services that my tax is going towards. So that's what I have a problem with. I think if I have to be completely honest, I prefer a system like Dubai where there is no tax and you pay for what you want. And I prefer that because I'm happy to pay for the best healthcare. I'm happy to pay for the best education and get that in return. What I feel like it is in the UK is just paying, you know, just being fleeced for tax in every which way possible and not really getting much in return. So I don't think it's the tax that's the issue. I think it's just the whole system and kind of the way it's just not working really that's the issue.
Do you think that the system could ever change? As in, could, you know, Dubai is I think 3 to 4 million people in quite a small area, and the UK is, what was it last count, 70, 80 million people, I think. Is it a system that could go into somewhere the size of the UK?
Well, like they're doing it in Dubai, you mean?
Like they're doing it in Dubai, like you said, where we don't pay tax, but you actually get what you pay for, and you go and...
I don't see why not. You know, I think something needs to change. You know, like the NHS is struggling, schools are struggling. You know, like we've just had VAT added on to private school fees, which I just think is absolutely ridiculous in the UK. And stuff like that, it just feels like you're constantly punished. Every which way you go, you're just punished in the UK. And the economy is already struggling. So I think something needs to change. I'm not an economist, so I don't know what specifically.
Fair enough.
But, you know, if they keep things the way they are, or it gets worse from a tax perspective, like just more and more people are going to leave, and then the systems are going to get even more pressured and worse. So, yeah, we need to be attracting entrepreneurs and business owners, not driving them away.
Well, thank you for answering that. Because
welcome.
sorry if I put you on the spot. I just
fine.
think that there's a lot of, I mean, myself is one of them that doesn't really understand tax and just pays it, you know. And I lived in the UK for 20 years, and it was just on my pay slip. Do you know what I mean? And there it goes. And then I come to Dubai, and it is a city where you don't pay tax. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so it's just, you know, sort of, it's interesting to get a professional's take rather than just watch Sky News and go, oh, tax is terrible. You know what I mean? So look, you started your own business, and what was it like to start your own business? You know,
Mental, absolutely mental, like chaos. I had 2 babies; they were 2 and 9 months old, and I just quit my very well paid, secure, excellent job that I had, and thought. Actually, what I thought was I'll just do a few sets of accounts from home. I had no aspirations to have like my own business per se, and kind of definitely not to have staff and a team and offices and all of that stuff. I genuinely just wanted the flexibility to be around the kids whenever I wanted to be. I didn't want to miss out. I think once I went back to work after I had my second son, that's when I was like, nah, it's just not for me, like this whole 9 to 5 kind of thing. So I literally quit my job, and I had no income, no clients, nothing, and just set up in my little garage at home, and it just grew really quickly. But I really have always, from day one, I've always put a massive emphasis on marketing above everything else. I think a lot of accountants don't necessarily do that.
I think a lot of people and companies don't actually do that.
Yeah, I'd agree with you on that. I think it's whenever I teach other accountants and things, and I do talks and stuff, and I always say the same thing, that, you know, you're not doing enough marketing. And even for me that does it every single day and has done for like 9 years, I'm not doing enough, you know. And I guess I always think that as long as I've got clients coming through the door, I can kind of cope with anything. As long as I've got inquiries, people that want my services, then nothing's that difficult to overcome. So it snowballed originally, and I think I was just, funny enough, I wrote a book a few years ago about, it's not a book, a guide. Let's be real. It was like a PDF, not a book.
Well, that downsized really quickly from a book to a guide to a PDF.
To an ebook. It's an ebook. I call it an ebook. 100 ways to market your accounting firm, because I get asked all the time, like, how do I get more customers? How do I get more customers? And I'm like, what are you doing? Tell me what you're doing to get new business. And because, you know, so many accountants struggle to get clients through the door, or they rely on referrals, which isn't a great way to do it. And I say to them, you know, what are you doing? And they're like, nothing. And I'm like, exactly. Like, I could tell you 10 things I've done today to market my business. You know, I could reel them off. And so I wrote this, 100 ways to market your accounting firm. And I know for a fact that I was doing all of them. You know, from the minute I woke up in the morning when I started my own business, I was like, this pressure, this overwhelming pressure that I've got bills to pay. You know, my husband was working all the hours under the sun and was like, we'll be okay, even if you don't make any money, like, to start with. And I was like, look, if this doesn't work out, worst case, I'm still a chartered accountant. I'll get a job. That was plan B. But it did work out, so it was okay.
So out of the 100 ways to market as an accountant, what are the top 3?
Top 3, I would say a social media platform of choice. So where your customers are. So originally my customers, because I was dealing with a lot of like kind of subby, sole traders, construction, a lot of those kind of people were on Facebook, or people they knew were on Facebook. So I was heavily on Facebook in the early years, and I switched to LinkedIn about maybe 6 years ago. and all my clients, because we're now very much look after corporates, companies, are LinkedIn. So pick whatever platform, don't do a scattergun approach. Pick where your clients are. If you're B2C or B2B, pick that and really, really go all in. Consistency is everything. It doesn't even really matter what you're saying. You need to be saying something. You need to be showing up. So I'd say social media platform of choice, local networking, I would say. So find a local networking group and attend it every single week, without fail. And I would say SEO. So now it's definitely weighted that the SEO we've done over the last probably 8 years has been really a great investment, and we get more inquiries from our website than we do from anywhere else. We get between 10 and 20 a day from our website. I think last week we got 40 inquiries from like Monday to Thursday, and I couldn't even go back to a single one of those people because I don't have time, and I don't have space to have a call with anyone for like 4 weeks. So the point of what I'm saying is I try and get it through to accountants and I guess other businesses. It doesn't have to be accounts, but if you can get SEO right and really invest in it, like it can be a game changer. It really, really can. Like I'm at a point now I could just delete all my social media and the business would continue to grow.
So how many clients have you got on your books?
Do you know, I don't even know. How awful is that?
Oh, congratulations.
I don't even know because I'm not very involved in the running of the business in the UK. I haven't been for quite a few years. I kind of got it to a point where it would just run on a day-to-day basis without me. I'm still, the only kind of director and owner. But so I make all the strategic decisions and I kind of keep the business going in the right direction. But on a day-to-day basis, I don't.
Well, I think that the question's definitely sort of asked around the size and the scale because, like you say, it's been 9 years, if my maths is correct. Yeah. And like, again, the trials and tribulations in the beginning, I think it's important, for people that are listening to see how big this has got and through the fact that marketing is, because also I've spoken to many people on the podcast about marketing and I think there's a lot of agreement where it's bizarre how people don't see it as important.
It blows my mind. It really blows my mind. And I think because I haven't done a set of accounts in years and I wouldn't know how to if I tried, but like the accounts was not really a thing that drove me. It was a means to an end. But what made me happy and excited and enjoying work was signing up new business. The thrill of signing a new client every single time. It didn't matter if it was £100. Like the fact it was a new client was like everything. And I'm still like that now. The growth and the buzz of getting all these inquiries and getting people that want to work with us is what keeps me going and keeps me really on track and stuff. So actually the number of clients we have definitely decreased where we kind of changed our strategic path. So went from working with lots of little sole traders to working with more corporates and actually changed our pricing. So we became more of a boutique firm, charging much higher fees. And we are a kind of frills business. So we're more of a Waitrose when it comes to accounting services. So it was intentional that we reduced. It's
a good analogy, sorry. The Waitrose of accounting.
We are the Waitrose. Nothing against, the Asdas and the Lidls. Love a Lidl shop. But everyone's got their place, right?
100%.
Some accountants are churn businesses and they're very profitable, and I love that model and it works. But the model's got to be right. So for us, we are kind of very all frills, all singing, all dancing, very hold our clients' hands, but they have to pay for that. It's premium. So I
was going to ask, at what point did that change for you? Did you go right? Okay, like we need to, because I think. And I'm asking because I'm on the verge, of starting my own business through this, and it's daunting. But also, it's that moment where you go, right. At what point do you start to stop saying yes to everything, and you have to go? Now I need to start saying no.
Yeah, it's so important. I think it was a few years ago, and it was kind of like a light bulb moment where I realised that I'm in the middle. I'm like a Sainsbury's, right? Which is not good for accountants.
All the supermarkets.
you can't be you can be in the middle, and so many accountants are in the middle, right? What it is they want to give this amazing service where anything the client wants, and they're like, yeah, we bend over backwards and we do the year-end meetings, and we're always at the end of the phone, and anything they need and all this stuff, we're very proactive, and they're charging like churn business prices. So that's why they're not making any money, and why they're headless chickens and they're so stressed and they're working 100-hour weeks, because they're stuck in the middle where they're not a churn business and they're not a boutique kind of frills business either. So pick which one you are and make all your decisions based off of that. It doesn't matter which one you are. Like I said, you can be either, and both can be very, very profitable. I have a friend of mine who runs an accounting firm, very successful, very, very profitable. He's further along in his journey than me, but kind of been like a bit of a mentor to me since day one, and I respect him so much, and what he's achieved is incredible, but his model is very different to mine. And I think it's so interesting, but you have to pick which one you are, and then, kind of make sure you're making decisions, because if you're a churn business, you're not sending out a paper newsletter once a month to your clients. You're not offering an extra pre-year-end planning meeting, that's going to take your time up. You're not going to all these, big flashy awards, event conferences that accounting software providers put on, because you've got to pay for all the tickets and stuff. You're not going to XeroCon. It costs a fortune to send your team there. You're not doing any of those things because you're a churn business. So you've got to act like one, and then you will be profitable. But if you're a frills business, you are doing all of those things, but equally you're charging a premium price. So you can be in the middle, but it just makes every decision you have to make harder.
And for anybody watching that doesn't understand the word churn,
churn is like in out. So you want your tax return done, yeah, boom, done, 200 quid, thank you, see you next year. That's a churn business. Churning the clients in and out over and over, no kind of real deep relationship with the clients. And there's a massive market for that in accountancy. The amount of people that they see accounts and tax as a necessary evil, and are so annoyed they even have to pay for it or even have to have it done. And I totally get that, and for a lot of small businesses as well, they just can't afford higher accounting fees. But actually, if you get a good accountant, even if they are more fees, they should be saving you money elsewhere and helping you make more money. So it's kind of it's a catch-22. But for those that are not prepared to pay any more for their fees and stuff, they just want a cheap service. Once a year, here's my books, I'm off. And there is a massive market for that, but you can't deliver this incredible frill service and only charge the 200 quid. It won't work, and that's why so many accountants are stressed and not making any money.
Fair enough. So you're just somebody that likes to add a lot more value and be a lot more present and have a higher duty of care.
Yeah, I think so. And I think also when I realised I needed to make that real decision in my mind and drive the team in the right direction, structure everything properly, it's because we were already doing that. So naturally, the team I had and how I had been when I had clients, we were naturally doing all those things and giving. You don't want to let people down. You want people to think you're the best. And my accountant's amazing because they've done this, that, and the other for me. So I think actually we were naturally doing that. We just weren't charging properly for what we were doing, and it does happen when you have legacy clients. I started off charging 75 quid for a tax return from my garage, then moving to all of a sudden I've got offices and a whole team of people and overheads. And
how many people are in your team?
So we've got a lot less now actually than we had. Again, that's been a strategic thing over the last couple of years. I've reduced the team. So although the business has grown, turnover's grown, profit's grown since day one, I've actually reduced down the team I've got, because we are very, very pro tech. So if someone leaves, I don't necessarily replace them. I will spend their money, their salary, on more and better software and AI and tech. But in answer to your question, we will. In answer to your question, there's about 10 of us, and I have a couple of UAE people as well.
So how did the UAE come into the picture?
So we were on holiday here, me and my husband and the kids, and typical me that just has these like mental crazy ideas, I was like, we could just move here. And my husband was like, yeah. And I was like, he was like, oh no, you're gonna do that, aren't you? Like and that was it. I just had the decision. Now my mum, who I'm super, 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 super close with, raised us pretty much on our own. Me and my mum and my sister, it was like the three of us forever. She does not fly, and she is on her own in the UK. Not only that, she lives her life for her grandchildren. So she's obsessed with them on a level that is like, I can't even explain it. So I knew that I could not move here. Like I could move for a bit, and she was devastated. She cried every day for like 2 years. But I said to her, Mum, I'm going to move for 2 years, just have an adventure with the kids. I love Dubai. I've been coming to Dubai for 20 years. You know, it's our favorite place. I'm just going to do it. I had no intention of setting a business up. So we moved here with the view that we'll just do 2 years and then we'll come back. But one thing led to another, started having conversations with people, you know, can you do my accounts? I've got a UAE business. Can you do my accounts? And you've set your business up here. Can you set mine up? And, you know, I was like, sure, why not? And then that just, snowballed as well. So it went from, I am definitely not going to have a business in the UAE to, okay, fine, I'll do a few accounts. Like, can't be that hard, right? To now
there's
it's
a theme
like,
here,
there's a
isn't there?
theme.
Like,
There's a theme.
I'll do one or two. Do you know what I mean?
And it's funny though, because it goes back to what you were saying earlier about people buying from people. Because, you know, I'm having a chat with someone who's like the dad of one of the kids' friends at school, and oh, what do you do? I'm an accountant. Oh, I need an accountant actually in the UAE. Can you just do it? And out here, it's so much easier to win business. So the UAE business has grown ridiculously, like quick, because it's only been 3 years.
Why is it easier?
I think because people have more money out here. The UK the economy is, you know, struggling. Businesses are struggling. You have to really convince people of the value in the UK. So a call I have with someone who's like a UK business owner is totally different to one in Dubai, because in Dubai, people very rarely even look at the price. They're just like, yeah, just sign the proposal. They're just not bothered. Like, it's just, they just want an accountant and they're quite happy. They've got more money. They're not paying tax. I think, I don't know. I just think in the UK, you've got to really convince people of the value, because they don't have as much disposable income to kind of just pay whatever for their fees, you know? So yeah, I think
there's a lot more of a growth mindset here.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry if that sort of pushes any buttons for anyone in the UK, because I'm not there.
That's true.
But Dubai is the type of place where you just feel that anything can be done. And it's not a plug to the city. I will caveat by it is tough. There are rules, regulations, and things can change extremely quickly. But you do always get that feeling that, you know, I can get this done somehow. You always met someone that's done it.
Literally,
you know?
that. Yeah. And you know, in the UK, certainly from my perspective, and this is not everybody, but I find that people don't really like seeing people do well in the UK. We're not that kind of country. There's quite a jealousy mindset in the UK. If you see someone doing, like, you're allowed to do well in the UK as long as no one knows. You don't tell anyone, right? Over here, I have found that everybody is willing to help everyone. You know, because people are so super successful here there's a lot of wealth here. There's a lot of entrepreneurs here. Naturally, a lot of entrepreneurs moving here. It has that vibe of like, you see people doing well and you're like, yeah, well done. You know, it's great. How have you done it? What have you done? Like, how can I help you? How can I help you? Like, the amount of people that have helped me, you know, since I came over here. And likewise, I've tried to do the same, kind of pass it forward. But it's just never been like that for me in the UK at all. You know, it's always been a lot of jealousy, a lot of kind of, people will be happy for you as long as you're not kind of doing better than them.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, when I spent a number of years in a small town in Lincolnshire, and then me and my friends moved to London. And I mean, we were by no means successful, you know. We were young sort of late teenagers, but we would go back there and instantly get a kind of, oh, you know, who do you think you are?
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, I'm still the same person I was.
The same person,
I'm still as untidy, terrible at life, terrible with money, everything else. I'm just doing it 200 miles away in a much more difficult situation. I do also remember a statement made a number of years ago to do with what soap operas are popular in which countries. And it was a comparison to, I don't know if you remember this, Dallas and Dynasty in America, which is about super wealthy people being super wealthy. And the storylines are the same, where they're just effing each other over left, right and centre. And in the UK, it's EastEnders and Coronation Street. And the point they were trying to make was, this could really blow up in my face as a statement, but it was that in the UK, these are popular because people are tuning in to watch people that are more miserable and have less than they do. And it makes them feel better. Yeah. Well, my life, but at least I'm not, this, I'm really not going to make any more outlandish claims, but, all the stuff that goes on in those.
It's true, honestly,
and
sadly.
I wonder if it's a real representation of the country.
Sorry, England. I think it is, sorry, England. And I feel like I'm being negative about England, but that side of it, I think, is true. And in America, they're not like it. They are very much like, oh, well done. Oh, he's doing so great. Pat on the back. Oh, you got a new car. Love it. Like, just very happy for people that are successful. And I have not experienced that personally in the UK at all, but I have experienced it here because there's always someone doing better than you here. There's always millions of people doing better than you here. It's a real eye-opener in that respect. But I just think that it's sad in a way that we have that kind of jealousy in the UK.
I think one thing we touched upon before we started recording was the point of materialism, which we won't get into because, believe it or not, the time is flying. Do you know what I mean? But here, there's a whole, I'm going to say, like you and I, we met for the first time an hour ago, and I think you're really cool. And the thing is that there's a whole lot of cool people here. There isn't just a whole battalion of people chasing materialistic. I mean, it's here.
Yeah, it is.
But I think what you see here is that it can be achieved. You can live in a very nice place. Yep. You can live in a very clean, very nice, very safe environment. And there is the materialistic people. I can't use swear words, but they're definitely here. But there's also wonderful, Sainsbury's. Do you know what I mean? There's a wonderful Sainsbury's of people spread all over. And and I've said it 1,000 times, I'd much rather be here than back in the UK. But so your business for Dubai is also due with relocation.
Yes.
How does that work? How do you deal with relocating people? Because moving is a nightmare.
Yeah, I mean, we don't physically move them. But we haven't quite branched out into smooth removals. But
I get that.
But so usually the first bit, because we move business owners specifically. So the first bit is usually the tax consultancy side, because people want to understand how to become non-resident for tax in the UK, and that's actually quite complex. So, and there's a lot of misinformation out there. So the first thing we usually do is that piece. So it's like a report that we do, taking into account all of that specific person's circumstances and go, right, you want to move to Dubai with your family or without. And this is kind of how it's going to impact you, what you need to do, how you become non-resident, how often you can come back to the UK and stay non-resident, how much you can work, what happens in a split year, which is where you move partway through the tax year. So all of these things come into it basically. And once they're happy with that piece, usually this is the order they do it in. Once they're happy with that piece, they'll be like, right, can you set a company up for me? Yes. Do we want free zone or mainland? Then if it's free zone, which free zone? Depending on their business activity will depend where we advise them to set up. We will then set the company up for them, get their visas and everything. They'll move out here. And then because they've got a company, we'll do the accounts and the tax and all of that jazz.
And how long is that process taking from start to finish?
Usually about 6 weeks. So you can set a company up within a week, and that can all be done from the UK. But it's usually the kind of logistics of being able to be here to get the Emirates ID and have your medical done and all of that stuff. And then usually people are either selling their house or they're renting it out and they need to tie up a few bits and pieces. So we can usually move quite quickly, but we have to work around their circumstances.
And is the amount of people relocating increasing?
For sure. Yeah, it is. Since Labour got in, we've seen a big increase because taxes have gone up. So the more taxes going up, the more people are leaving.
I wanted to ask you, it's about tax.
Okay.
Gary's Economics. Do you know this guy?
I do not.
Okay, I'll leave it there.
Why?
No, he's blown up all over Instagram.
Oh, really? I'm so rubbish with who people
No,
are.
but he's like come out of nowhere where he's the ex-City trader.
Right.
Extremely Cockney accent, actually, and really going after the government and everything about taxing the rich. And I won't, because if you don't know, then I won't.
Was he just recently on the Stephen Bartlett podcast.
Yes, doing the debate with the other.
Yeah,
yes.
yeah. No, I do know who he is. I do know who he is.
So it just sort of popped into my head because he makes a lot of claims about tax the rich.
Yes,
do you know
he does.
what I mean?
He does,
and
yeah.
I wanted to sort of ask you, not putting. I feel like I've put you on the spot.
No, it's
a lot,
okay. I don't
But
mind.
then again, there are no pre-approved questions.
Yeah.
So you agreed
I
to
signed
it.
up to it.
You signed up to it. But where do you stand on that? Is that?
I feel, and I suppose I can only talk from my like personal experience, that I've come from nothing. You know, we really didn't have any money growing up, single parent household. You know, it was a real struggle for my mum. We really, really struggled. We were the poor kids at school, and you know, it was evident. We didn't have holidays. We didn't have I didn't go abroad. I wouldn't go on a plane until I was an adult. You know, we didn't. Still very privileged compared to some, I will say, but in comparison to the life I live now and the life my kids have, it is worlds apart. So I know how hard I've worked, and having 2 babies and looking, you know, being the primary childcarer and also starting a business and growing it from scratch, you know, being in labour and sending tax returns and, you know, working through the night every night when the kids are awake and I'm sending emails to try and feed them and get them back to bed and all that jazz. I know what I've been through to grow the business the size I have. So I feel personally violated by the amount of tax that I pay. And I feel like at the level I'm at, when you're kind of in the middle, so you're not a basic rate earner, but you're above that and you're trying to do better and better, you're just being pushed back down. So I disagree with him. I think that, you know, there's no incentive to do better, because the better that you do, the more you just have to give away. And I think that's the problem we've got in the UK, is that we want the people that are doing better. You know, I employ a team of people. I'm helping all of these people and their families and paying their wages so they can have mortgages and, you know, propping up the economy in that respect. We need all the small businesses doing that, but there's no incentive to do it. So I think, although I think everyone should pay their fair share, I absolutely do. And I completely do pay my fair share and pay a huge amount of tax. Like, it's too much, you know, and I don't, as a small business, I think I should be getting a lot more leniency and paying less tax because of how much I'm helping the economy.
I totally agree with you.
Oh, good.
No, and it's not because you sat here. I mean it because... As I'm embarking on this journey myself now, you know, everyone hopes that it gets big and you do very well out of it. Yeah. And I've always looked at this, which is, you know, I grew up in the UK, I grew up in London, went to school in Essex, East London, various different levels of wealth across the board there. But it is that feeling of, I want to work really hard. I want to achieve something, and it's painful. You know, even I've had years and years, and even though I've worked for other people, I've still worked very, very hard. I think I have. Yeah. Maybe there's a few people that go, no, but why should you work really, really hard and then they take your money and politically look at it and you just think, there are people who don't want to work hard. And why you get more money?
I know, and that's it. I do feel personally vindicated. I think, God, I've worked so hard. Like, people don't see that. People see the, you know, off to Dubai and, you know, the nice house and all these things. That's what they see, and they don't see, you know, how hard I've worked from, you know, I had £100 secondhand laptop that I bought to set my business up, and that's all I had. And I remember handing the money over for that, thinking, oh God, like, can't believe I'm giving away £100. Like, I had nothing, you know, like, and times were really hard for us. And I think my kids, thank God, are going to have a totally different awareness of money and a different, like, I worried about money growing up because we didn't have any. And my kids won't ever have that worry. And I will make sure that they never, ever have that worry. And I'm really glad that they won't. And people feel differently about that. Some people think, oh, you know, you don't want to have entitled kids and stuff like that. And of course, you absolutely don't. And I won't, and I don't have entitled children, but they also do not have to worry about money.
I think as long as people understand the value of it, then it's all good.
Yeah, exactly. And I just think it's easy for people to say that, but generally, you don't find many people that are doing quite well for themselves financially that are happy with the amount of tax they're paying. There's not many people that are like, yeah, this is great. Like most are like, this is awful. You know, there's just another tax all the time. There's something else. You know, like my kids being in private school, I never in a million years thought my kids would go to private school. I never thought I'd be able to afford that. Like it was something that other people did. And then all of a sudden we were in a position where we could send our kids to this most incredible school, but it was still going to be tough for us. But we were like, no, that's a good use of our money. You know, we're not super wealthy, but we can afford it. Might have to make a few sacrifices, but this would be great for them. And it has been absolutely wonderful. And then they add VAT on and you're like, I've got to try and find another 20% now. Like that's who you're hurting. You're not hurting the super wealthy people that you're actually going after, because they couldn't care less. They're like, so another 20% means nothing. They've probably already paid all the school fees for the next 5 years. You know, they've probably paid it in a one-er because it doesn't mean anything. But like you're hurting all of us, the ones that are actually like the kind of, not the super wealthy, the people that are just doing well enough. That's who you're hurting, you know, by doing that. And I think that's, I do feel violated by the amount of tax I pay.
Well, thank you so much for sharing that, because, it's very, very honest. And I agree with you 100%. Look, believe it or not, we're out of time.
Wow.
You know what I mean? I can't even ask you about AI. I really wanted to get into this. But I do have one last question. And is there any question you'd like to answer that I haven't asked you?
Wow,
how about that? I just thought that one up.
That is crazy.
Because there are no questions. Right? So is there anything you were coming on and you were thinking,
I wish you'd asked me that.
I hope he says that. Do you know what I mean? So I can say that.
You were going to ask me about my book that I have actually written.
I was good. No, very good, because I did say you can plug the book. There you go. Because I was so wrapped up in the tax conversation.
I know.
No. So you've written a book.
I've written a book. There's loads about tax in it. So if you are a business owner and you are moving to Dubai, I've written a book, How to Move to Dubai for UK business owners. So it's going to be out in the next, by the time this podcast gets released, fingers crossed, my book will be out and available on Amazon to purchase.
When is it coming out?
Well, I've got the draft. I just need to fix it 'cause there's a few things.
How many weeks? And I'll tell you if this is gonna land.
I hope by the end of May.
Yeah, I think you're good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think.
Well, now I've got to do it. So
this
that's
could be
good.
like first. Yeah, there you go.
Now
This will be first week of June.
So yeah, hopefully the book will be out by the time this comes out, and it's a
all the
whole
best
brain
with that.
dump of every single thing I know about moving to Dubai. Lots about tax, relocation, everything.
Looks, I'm sure it'll do very well. So,
so.
Jeri Williams, thank you so much for coming. And you know what? Thank you for being so brutally honest and candid with the questions. I've really, really enjoyed it, and I wish you all the best.
Thank you very much. Pleasure.